All right, we are live. So, welcome to the Soul Wisdom Exchange. I'm Regina Curtis, the creator of Ed Matry, and I am a soul wisdom mentor and soul sourced business strategist. So, I love using our ways of knowing and being to really support you in your life and business. And one of those ways is through the Soul Wisdom Exchange. So, here we have conversations. I invite people in from just as I move through the world and meet these amazing people, I like to share them with you. So I invite people in to have conversations about their ways of knowing and being, or what I call your soul wisdom, and the ways that we receive that wisdom comes to and through us, and those are our soul wisdom languages. So today for the conversation, I've invited DJ, who's joining us from, I believe, London, right? Are you in
Yes,
London
yes,
still?
yeah, yeah. Still in London for a few months.
Okay, perfect. So, DJ, tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do in the world.
Yeah, hi everyone. So I am DJ. I am French, as you you can hear it, based in London, and I'm a midlife coach. So I'm the guidance. I help women who are in their 40s, 50s, and I help them create a vibrant and exciting midlife.
Mm, beautiful. I love that term, midlife guidance, right?
Mm.
It's sometimes, so I'm in my 40s, and definitely there are times when I could use that, like, that guidance energy, right? Like when you're just kind of feeling like, where am I going now? What's going
Yes,
on? What's happening? Just to have somebody there to kind of help, not do it for you or push you, but to just hold that space and walk with you. And at least that's how
absolutely.
I read that term. Is that resonating
That's
for you?
absolutely spot on, Regina. It is about helping women who might feel a bit lost at midlife and asking themselves, what am I doing now? Like, where am I going? What do I actually want? I don't have any kind of dreams anymore. And a lot of them lost themselves in motherhood and in their relationships. So it is about helping them get back to themselves
Hmm.
and being their guide, holding their hand, maybe showing them some shortcuts, not doing the journey for them, but I know a few shortcuts.
I love it. I love it. Yeah. And I think that's really resonant too with the work that I do. We approach it in slightly different ways, but I think we use some of similar tools as well, right? And I am working on helping you develop that soul wisdom language, right? Really leaning into and understanding what are your ways of knowing and being, and perhaps you're then coming in and helping also with, okay, what do we do with this, right? Like, how do we then bring vibrancy into this? How do we create that kind of beautiful meshing between where you are and what's going on in the world and where you're
Mm.
going?
It comes down to self-trust,
Hmm.
trusting trusting yourself
Yeah.
and yeah, building that self-confidence. And but I do feel like really self-trust, that's what comes up for me right now. I think
Yeah.
it's so important.
Self trust and like, and, you know, my brain just went into this like really deep place, but um let's talk about that for a minute, right?
Yes,
Like, so
please.
women who are in their 40s and 50s right now, right?
Mhm.
This is always evolving, right? And women who are in their 40s and 50s in 20 years are going to have a different experience, but the women who are in this place right now at this age, just thinking about kind of, I think where I went, like my energy went to this other place, and it's like the whole journey of like, how did we get to where we are right now, and all of the things that we've moved through, and that concept of self trust. So much of the journey that we've been through in this world leading up to this moment right now has been working in quite the opposite of that, right? Teaching us to not trust ourselves, not trust our bodies, not trust our minds, our emotions, all of these things that are a part of who we are. And this is something that everybody experiences in some way, but as women at that particular age, I think it's a really, at least that's what's coming up for me as being a really vibrant kind of place of why would self-trust be important. So I'd love to hear from you. Is this something that you experience with a lot of the clients that you work with?
Yes, definitely. When they start working with me, that's kind of lost themselves, and they don't really know, they don't trust themselves, and I feel like they lost themselves in their roles as well, as someone who's going to work. So that's where they build their confidence from. And but I think it's self-trust is about trusting yourself, whatever is happening around you. Does that make sense? It's within you. It doesn't come from what you do at work. It doesn't come from your relationship, from your children. It's about trusting who you are, regardless of your bank account and external factors. Does that make sense, Regina?
Yeah. Well, we wear a lot of labels, right? We
Mm.
Who are you? When I've asked myself this question a lot of times because it is really something that's important in the space that I'm working in. And when I ask that question to other people, who are you? What often I get back are a bunch of labels. Oh, I'm a mother, I'm a sister,
Yes,
I'm a,
yes.
this is my title at work. This, but who are you?
Who are
What
you?
lights you up? What makes you tick? What helps you
Oh, I love
think?
this.
How do you know? How do you express yourself, right?
Yes.
These things, even in like, it's like just digging deeper, right? Like getting to go into that core of who you are. Because I could say, oh, I'm an artist, but that's still a label, right? But who am I? How do I express that? I allow one of the things I said to you right before we got on this live call was I see and understand the world through patterns,
Mm,
right? And that's, I think, a little bit more. It's an explanation. It's hard to really give words to who you are because oftentimes we might access that through a feeling, or we might access that through just an essence, right? Feeling into the essence. But the more that we can really tap into that internally, then the more easily we can express that externally.
absolutely. Absolutely. It's all about doing the inner work. And also, what comes up for me, Regina, it's a lot of women I work with, they're kind of disconnected from their body.
Hmm. Yeah,
Their
absolutely.
body, their body doesn't is not a safe place. So they're not allowing themselves to feel anything. They have a tendency to numb their emotions. Um, So like it could be like over drinking, overeating. It's just reconnecting, and I help them reconnect with their body. That's how you can start trusting yourself,
Yeah.
creating safety within yourself.
I mean, this is what we're walking through our lives in, right? This is the vehicle that we're in. And um, a lot of that distrust that we've been taught to, yeah, it's hard to find words that are not going to trigger when you talk about that, right? Because
Yeah,
um, there's always somebody that says, well, that's your experience, or that, and I'm not saying that everybody's been like brainwashed or, anything like that. But each time we have an experience, it creates a physical, we have it we have that experience physically, right? We have it mentally, we have it emotionally, we have it spiritually, we have it on
yeah,
all these layers. And if we have not felt safe or been given a safe space to experience ourselves and that experience on all of those levels, then it gets compressed or repressed, right? And that's what I mean by we get taught. We are taught not to. I'm not saying that somebody's standing over us going, you have to do this, right? And in some cases, that is absolutely the case. But in a lot of cases, it's just experiential, right? You have an experience, something has an outcome, and then from that outcome, you then go into your next experience with that information. So when you have something similar, your brain then goes and says, okay, I see this situation coming. What does this mean? Have I had a similar experience? How do I react to this? What is safe? What is not? Right. And each time you have those similar experiences, it builds up, and that becomes what you learn, right? You learn to react in a certain way, or you learn to respond in a different way.
absolutely. And it's all, and I guess one thing happened, and then you make up a story about what happened.
You give it meaning, right? And
You
that
give it a me,
power.
yes, yes, that power. And I do think that at midlife, we probably talk about it later on, Regina, but I do feel like at midlife, is the time to we kind of become more aware, and we remember things that happened, and then we have the choice to maybe change the narrative, to change the meaning we gave it. And I think we have so much power.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not always it's not easy. It's not easy to,
No.
oh god, for me.
I like to say that it is usually simple but not always easy.
Yes, that's exactly, Regina. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Um, so why midlife? I mean, I think that for women who have maybe been mothers or maybe have had a certain experience in their career, midlife seems to be um, a really pinnacle point where in that path, right, there are these changes. Our bodies are starting to change a little bit hormonally, right? Like we're entering into a different phase of life. But that's not the path that every woman takes. So obviously there are many factors involved here, but what are some of the themes that you see coming up, or who is it that you really love working with the most? Who resonates the most with you?
Yeah, good question, Regina. I think that we all have different ways. We all are on a unique journey. So I don't want to generalize, but
Yeah.
what I can see exactly. Yeah, you said it really beautifully, Regina. There are some patterns. So what I would say, most of my clients when they come and work with me, they either or both struggling job wise, so they're
Mm.
not happy in their job anymore. They feel like it's not who they are anymore. They're
Yeah, I
not
was gonna
feeling
say
fulfilled.
identity was the word that came up. It's like not really their identity.
Yeah, it's not their identity. It's not who.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a disconnect. They're like, what am I doing?
Hmm.
I've built that career. I've worked for this career for 20, 30 years. And here I am like, this is not what I want to do anymore. And just to give you an example, I met up with a friend last week. She's my age. She's 46. She trained as a lawyer. She's always been a lawyer. Guess what? She resigned. She stopped. And that gave me goosebumps because I wanted to hire. It's so funny. I'm selling a house. I'm buying a house in France, and I needed a solicitor. And I just thought, oh, she's perfect. I know her. I trust
And
her.
she's like, I'm done.
Regina, I messaged her, and she said, I can't help you. I'm really sorry. I resigned. I'm not. I'm like, are you kidding me? I'm happy for you, but the timing when I need you. And we laughed. But you see what I mean? She said she worked really hard. She was burnt out. I think burnout is a massive thing as well. For a lot of women who get to their 40s and 50s, they're like, that's not a way to live. Like, I'm like, stressed and
I think there's so many, like I said, there's so many factors going on here. One of those factors is um, what's going on internally, and there are some fascinating kind of uh, I guess patterns is the right way, like just this kind of trajectory that we're on as humans, right?
mm,
Um, and when we enter into different phases of life. So
mm,
there's there's a process called the 9-star key, and I know that are you use human design for yourself and in your work as a tool for your coaching,
mm,
also a tool that I love. Definitely I like to bring in astrology and just different modalities as tools for exploration. Like I feel like all of these are ways that we can kind of it's almost like being able to just kind of like put on this view of yourself, like to look through a microscope at yourself, right? And then
understand.
get in there
Yeah,
and explore. And it's not a I think sometimes people think like, oh, this is telling me what I need to do or what I should do. It's like, no, this is telling you about your possibilities, right? All the potential, all the possibilities. And it's an invitation to explore. Some of it may resonate, some of it may
mm,
not, because there's so many layers that make up who we are and how we show up in the world. Um, but anyway, there's this tool, let's call it a tool, modality, theory, I don't know, it's ancient. It's millennia old, and it comes from China, I think originally. It's called 9 Star Key, and it's pretty complex system of different things. But one of the things is really talks about these kind of decades that you have, and there are 4 gates that we enter
Mm,
through. And the first one that you enter through of these major gates in your life is 30, 40, 50, and 60. And during these times, really, it has this kind of, just like we have seasons have a yin and a yang, right? Like
yes.
summer is a yang month, fall is a yin month. I mean, winter is a yin month, right? Like so it kind of goes back and forth. Um, and just like that, our decades also have this pattern. So it's really kind of
Mm,
built off of this idea of the what is it called? The spiral that's in the shell. I can't think of it. The I'll think of it in a minute. Anyway, it's this kind of phenomenon that happens in nature where things kind of like spiral out and it gets exponentially bigger as it kind of goes around in the
oh
spiral.
wow.
And so the concept is like you have a yin month, a yin decade, and a yang decade, and a yin decade, and a yang decade. And your 20s is a yang decade. You're out in the world, you're doing things, you're showing up, you're vibrant, you're out there in the world, right? 30s is more of a yin decade. And so you kind of come back into yourself. And then 40s again, you're expanding out. And I think that this is really interesting with the work that you're doing, because as you're starting to kind of come out of this inner world that you've been in your 30s, and I can say that looking, I mean, obviously I can't say for what's ahead, but I can say in my personal life, 20s was definitely like I was out, I was ready to take on the world. And in my 30s, I started to come back in and really get more curious about who am I? What am I doing? Why am I here? And then in my 40s, it's like, oh, okay, now I'm going to start to put this into place. And
Mm,
this theory is that then in your 50s, as you start to approach your 50s, you start to come back in again of, okay, is this what I really wanted? Is this who I am? What is next, right? What's next in my life?
mm.
And it kind of goes back and forth like that.
Oh, fascinating. Even though it's really interesting because I do feel like in my 20s, I wasn't really having a lot of fun. No. So it's interesting. I do feel like, yeah, I don't know. I feel like there are two kind of women. So you're the first type. So you had fun in your 20s and then 30s, things would
Well,
calm down. But I do feel like I never really had, I don't know. I feel like finally I'm having fun.
I wouldn't necessarily say, I mean, yes, it was fun at times, but that's not really like, it was more about an outward energy. I'm going to see the world. I'm going to take on the world. I'm going to
I
work
see.
really hard. It's more about this like connection with other people. Whereas in
I
my,
see.
right, do you see like, it's not necessarily about whether it's fun or not fun. It's more about this outward energy versus this
Mm,
inward energy.
okay, I get you.
And that's not to say it's the case for everybody, right? Like this may resonate really strongly for some people and not for others. But again, it's this kind of like these collective waves of energy. Um,
Mm.
and yeah, that's what I was picking up on. Um, so tell us a little bit about some of the tools that you use. I know human design is a tool that you
Yes,
use, and I know that you identify as a projector, correct?
yes, I am a projector. I do think that human design finds you. It's a little bit of
Yes, it does.
do you agree with Gina?
I do, 100%. Yes, and I'm a generator, by the way.
Woohoo! That's why whew, I'm taking all your energy now.
I have a lot.
Because yeah, so yeah, the way human design found me, I had one of my last coaching sessions with my business coach last year, and she, out of the blue, a little bit, she said, "Oh, by the way, according to human design, you're a projector, DJ." And I remember like, "Oh, okay." And she said a few things I can't remember, but maybe I remember how it made me feel like, "Oh, I need to know more about this projector thing." And
Hmm.
that's how the journey started. I started reading about it, and I'm like, oh, the relief, like, oh, there's nothing wrong with me. Oh, that makes sense. You know, you start connecting the dots.
Yeah.
for those of you who know a little bit about human design, a projector, we don't have as much energy as others. And I have a nap every day, and it's just like, yeah, that's the way and I'm like, oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I always try to protect my energy as well, and really interesting. Yeah, it all makes sense, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I started reading. I really went to the rabbit hole of knowing everything. You got, but it's all about experimenting, yeah, with human design. You can read stuff, but it's all about
Well, it's reading it, taking it in, digesting it, seeing what really resonates for you, and then releasing what doesn't and going on more exploration. I think it's
yeah,
a very complex system. And it pulls in from, I know it pulls in from astrology, from um, the
chakras,
gene keys,
chakras,
from, say
the
that again?
the chakras,
Oh,
chakras.
the chakras, yes,
Yeah,
and from key, from, what is it, the I Ching,
and the Kabbalah as well.
and the,
Kabbalah.
yeah, there's so many different like things kind of swirling around in there, and so it is just, I feel like it's this thing that can just like unfold and unfold and unfold. I mean, astrology itself you could unfold for years,
Mm.
decades, lifetimes, and that's just one piece of this. So it's like all of these things in one, but it has some really fascinating information and tools, I think, to use. So it's interesting that you really resonated with that level of energy, right? Because for projectors, like you said, projectors have a limited amount of energy. I
Yeah.
am a generator. I have an almost unlimited amount of energy, and it's funny because
Give me some, Regina.
here you go, here you go. Yeah, I have some to spare. And it's interesting because when you said, oh, there's nothing wrong with me, right? Like I felt the same way, even
Mhm.
though the answer to mine was, oh, it's okay for you to have unlimited energy. Um, because I've noticed that a lot of times in different ways that I've engaged or different communities, sometimes it is, I get the sense almost that it's like too much for people, right?
Ah.
Um, and or it's intimidating. Sometimes people are intimidated because I can I can drop in an idea, and then I just, once if it aligns for me 100%, I do it. And
Oh.
sometimes I look back and I'm like, I don't know how I did that. It was superhuman. But
Mm.
when there's this clear alignment for me, I just gather all that energy and I pour it into it. Um, and not everyone has that level of energy. It doesn't
No.
mean that there's anything wrong with them or anything wrong with me. It's just that's one of the specialties that I have. And when I've been able to learn how to focus that energy in that way, it's really powerful rather than being like spread in all these different
Yeah,
places.
and saying yes to everything. I think for you, it's really about saying yes to things that bring you joy,
Yeah,
that
that
makes you feel alive.
really.
Because you're able to do everything with your energy, but it's about being really discerning. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Just because I'm able to do everything doesn't mean that that serves me, right? Like because I could spend my whole day every day doing a million different things and never actually get anything done.
Yeah, I love even knowing this. That's what I mean. There are different levels in human design, but just knowing what kind of energy, how you manage your energy, that's huge. That can
Huge.
make a difference. This is why a lot of projectors, or even other profiles, types, that come to their 40s and 50s and feel burnout because they were not able to use their energy properly.
Yeah. Yes. Absolutely. So this is why it's so important to be able to sustain your energy and not just have it constantly draining out, which is really one of the things that I focus on. So with your business, so where's your energy being drained in your
Mm,
business, right? Because especially for entrepreneurs, this is a huge part of your day. This is a huge creative burst of energy, and yet you can still engage with that in a way that is honoring your way of being in flow with your energy. So for
yeah.
you, I'd love to hear about what does that look like for you? You said you take a nap every day, right?
So how it looks, yeah, good question, Regina. So how it works for me, I drop my son to school, come back at 9, do my coffee. And one thing I learned, I always thought, oh, how come I don't spend that much time? I have like kind of an office space, office corner. I would rather work on the couch in the living room. And I always thought that's a bit weird, but now I understand it because I love like just being comfortable with my blankets and even here I've got this
Yeah,
on my,
I
you know
love
what I
it.
mean? It's just comfy. This is me. This is who I am. So I'm embracing it. You can do some really good work. That's all about the conditioning as well, without sitting at a desk 8 hours a day. You see what I mean? There are different ways to work, and I love it.
Yeah.
So I'm really going with the flow. I have a few things to do, but I know I make sure not to add too much stuff on my list. Otherwise, I'm feeling a bit like I'm not going to have enough energy to do it.
Hmm.
So I'm right, and I'm flexible with my time. I know that I need to my work needs to get done between 9 and usually 1. That's where I have the most energy. After lunch, that's a different story. So I know when I'm the most
Yeah.
creative to write my post or to coach between 9 and 1.
Yeah, I love
So
it. It's so important. And when you can get into those natural cycles and rhythms and really understand, like, this is when I'm most active. Like, it's funny because when I worked in the corporate space, um, my cat is losing
yeah,
his
I
mind.
can hear
Like,
your
can you hear him? He's like outside my door, like, I want to be on the show. Anyway, so
cat.
that's what's happening. Sometimes he sounds like a baby crying, and I just want to make sure
No, no, no. I
no
knew
baby crying. My cat.
your
Um,
cat.
anyway,
That's fun.
um, when I worked in the corporate space, I traveled actually quite a lot, and I worked with the teams that I worked with were in China and Australia, and I'm based in the U.S. And so I would have these days that would start at 7 in the morning and go until 9 or 10 o'clock at night because I those were the time zones of the people I was working
Yeah.
with. But then in the midday, I was also working like my regular, let's call it 9 to 5, of working with the people in the US and kind of moving things along here. And then other days I would be traveling. So I was on and off of planes probably every week or every 2 weeks. I would spend sometimes months in another country, or I would be on the road in like multiple different places for weeks at a time. And I would just go, 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 go. And I was able to do that pretty sustainably because I have this generator energy, right? Like I have all this energy. But I would find that I still wasn't, like, I wasn't sleeping well. I wasn't, um, I don't know. I had all this creative energy that was just built up, and I'm a super creative person, but I wasn't
Mm.
actually getting to use that energy.
Yes.
So it was like I was taking all of this really vibrant energy that I had, and I was like dripping it out through this little valve to try to like
Oh.
sustain these massive days. And that will lead to burnout. But what would happen is when I would stop, I would crash, right? Because I would manage
Mm.
it. It's like managing that energy through this like small valve. I just picture this like, when you let the tire air out of a tire and you start to like open it up and it's like psh, and it starts to come out, and then you like
Yes.
open it all the way up and it's like whoosh, right? Well, I just had this like slow drip.
Mm.
But one of the things about being a generator is to use all of your energy, but at the every day to use
Yes.
up all of that energy.
Yes.
And so when I moved out of my corporate life and started working for myself, I had this fascinating experience where suddenly at first, I had this huge burst of creative energy that just decades of creative energy that had been just building and building and building and building. Suddenly it was like I had the space for it. And so I had a couple weeks where I stayed up until 2, 4 in the morning, just like making art, writing, creating, just like everything was just like pouring out of me. Most of it was shit, but it was just like pouring out of me because it was like so built up. And then I had this one night where I just like, I stayed up almost all night, and I just had this creative genius, like it just, everything came together. And
Wow.
I remember I had stuff spread out all over this room, like everywhere. And I finally went to bed. In the morning, my partner came in and she was like, what happened in here? And I was like, I don't know. I just got in this weird mood where I was like going into old journals, and I was like cutting pages up, and I was like painting on top of stuff and then layering it on top of old paintings. And she was just like, this is really cool. Like, I've never seen you do any of this before. Um, and then that actually led into the intuitive artwork that I do. So it was like this process
Wow.
of kind of combining text and colors and shapes, and but I just let it evolve naturally. And now I am done by 8 o'clock at night. Like, I use my energy, I use it all up every day. I'm highly creative, highly productive all throughout the day. And then I stop when I close down for the day. Like, I'm done. No more creativity. I'm just like, I make dinner, I'm present, I do the things I need to do. And
Love
I
it.
wake up naturally at like 4 in the morning. And that never was the case before. Like, I would always, so it's really interesting when you learn how to use your energy the way that it fits for you, right?
That's
Because
it.
that day that I just explained probably sounds exhausting to you.
Oh, I can't even. When you tell me I was up, no, no, but Regina, I can't comprehend that I was up all night. I'm like, how do you? I can't. I just physically. You see what I mean? I just can't. I'm in bed at 10. I love my bed. 10 o'clock. I'm in bed. I'm happy. It's heaven. So I'm like, I'm all night. I'm like, how do you actually do that? I can't get it.
Because it's not your way, right? It's not
No,
your
it's not.
um and so yeah, it's really interesting to just be able to lean into that and understand that that's how things work, for you, and what feels good to you, what helps you be in sync. And I guarantee you can do a lot in the time that you spend doing it, because you can get focused, right? If you
Yeah.
actually honor that energy and really focus it during that time you need to, you can get everything done that you need to get done. And maybe you stop for a little while and you need to, and that's actually, you keep your energy calibrated so that you can come back in and keep going. But one of the things that's really fantastic about being an entrepreneur is that you have the ability to create that space for yourself.
Yes, 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 yes. Because let's face it, running your own business is not a chore in the park. It can be challenging,
Oh
but
no, it's
yes,
not.
I'm not gonna. No, let's not sugarcoat it. Yeah, it is. Poof. But hey, the freedom is just like Dave. I can have a nap. I can do the school run. I can have a nap. I really feel like I can be myself, and this is absolutely fantastic, and this is priceless. And yeah, it's not for everyone, but I do feel like I love the fact that whether you're a generator or projector or anything else,
Manifesting generator, reflector, whatever it is, right?
I do think that we end up having the same conversation, which is we don't want to hustle. Like before, people used to. I would never, and now I get it. You know the word hustling, Regina. I never got it. I never understood what it was to work that hard, that you're hustling. I'm like, what is it? No wonder, because I'm a protector. I'm not meant to. But I don't think no one is meant to hustle. You see what I mean?
Well, I think that the concept of that word, even, it's meant to, um it's used in a way that is it's like it's trying to empower you, like, you gotta hustle, you gotta do it, you gotta get out there, you gotta do the thing. But really what it is energetically is like, push, push, push,
Yeah.
keep pushing. And when you're in that space of pushing, then you're not honoring your rhythms and cycles, right? So engage it when it's there, use it, focus it, allow it to be present, and move you forward in the way that feels good for you. And when it's not, allow yourself to rest. And
Mm-hmm.
that whole concept of the hustle, I think, is just, maybe it's not always meant to be this way, but this is how energetically I receive it, in the way that it's kind of talked about, right, collectively, is just like that hustle. It's ongoing. It's never stopping, and that is exhausting. Anything that continues to just burn at that pace is going to burn out.
Yeah, like it's never enough. And I think at some point you've got to decide what you do is enough. And that's really the work I've been doing on myself as well as a projector, knowing that, yeah, I work a few hours a day and this is enough.
Yes. Yeah. And I mean, this is
Mhm.
the beautiful thing, right? So, no, being an entrepreneur is no walk in the park. Like, it's not to say that it's easy, but it can be easeful, right? You can make it
Oh, I like that. Easeful.
easeful.
This is now. Oh, wow. I love
I
that
love
word,
words. I
Regina.
love playing with words. Um,
Oh, wow.
but right, like, you can make it easeful. You can make
I
your
love that.
schedule so that you have ease and flow. You can create your offers, like, for some people, and even for me, like, when I first started my business, I had a million different offers and a million different ways, and now I'm starting to really kind of streamline it and be like,
Mm.
I can be more um present with a smaller amount of things that go deeper, right?
I
That
see.
have this more meaningful connection to me. And not to say that the connections that I was having, what, here and there and all over the place, weren't meaningful, but for me, I'm really getting this draw to just take things deeper. And so, to simplify it, so that I have, these three different ways that I work with people, and
Mm-hmm.
how we engage. This is the space that we come into, which then gives me more space and ability to have these create, like, I need to be creating. I need to be writing. I need to be making art. I need to be connecting with people. And I can have more space to do that when I've focused my streamlined offers into these three areas. It's very clear, it's very concise. It's like, here's how you can work with me. And then that gives me the flexibility to have those bursts of creativity that I know I'm going to have.
Love this. Love this. Yeah. 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 It is about knowing yourself and I think self awareness. And I do feel like we're just more aware at midlife when we get to our 40s and 50s. You just know yourself more. And there are tools like human design or coaching or just to like, that's what it is. Yeah. Okay. This is who I am. These are my strengths and these are my gifts. And it is about, I'm passionate about helping women find their superpower, their unique gift, and because a lot of them don't know that they're like, oh, I have nothing special, and I'm like, are you kidding me?
I know, right?
No.
Of course you do. Of course you do. But they oftentimes, I feel like people say this to me. They'll be like, "Oh, Regina, I don't have a creative bone in my body," and I'm like, "That's not true. You absolutely do. Your creativity may look a lot different than mine, right?
Mm,
Your gift may look a lot different than mine, and it doesn't mean that it's not a gift." And the funny part is that oftentimes our biggest gifts are the things that we don't necessarily value in ourselves, because we just know them to be the thing we do, right? Like, oh, that's just something
yes,
I do, or
I love
oh,
that. It
that's just
comes
really easy
naturally. It
for me.
comes naturally to us, so we
Yes,
take it for granted, and we feel like everyone is like us.
right,
Yes. Oh, so true, Regina.
right.
That's why you need to be on the lookout. That's the work I do with my coaching clients. Like, what are the things that people say to you? You're like, oh, come on. Like, no, no. Just pay attention. There's something there.
Yeah,
What is it you used to hear when you were younger? What is it you're good at? Where you feel like everyone knows how to do that? No, that's your superpower. And then it's like, oh, actually, and oh, I love this work. Yes, yes,
yeah.
yes.
It's so much fun, right? It's so
I
much fun to
know.
just see that moment where people are like, oh, that thing that I just thought was like a normal thing that I do, that's like just quirky. Often, I like to say, embrace your weirdness, right? Like, what is the thing that is you find weird, because that's the thing that is special about you. That's the thing that no one around you has, and that's That's the thing that you can really empower and make into this beautiful thing that you can share with others. Um, and it may be something that, I don't know. I think, we have a lot of marketing uh, advice will say, find your niche. What's your niche? Really, it's find out who you are. What do you do really well? And what do you do easily? Because don't isn't that where you want to make your money? Do you want to
Hello.
do you want to spend your
Exactly.
days stressing and doing things that are not fun for you, that are hard for you, or do you want to just be you and show up being fully you, and then that's where you're making your money. That's
Yeah,
where you're spending your time, putting your energy, sharing your gifts in the world.
absolutely. And I would add to that, Regina, that's also what were your challenges? Maybe you can help someone who's going through the same stuff as well. That can be a clue as well in how you can help people.
Yeah,
Like, what have you? We all go through different things. We all have a different curriculum on this earth. So, what are
that
the kind of challenges you've had, and what result did you create in your life? And maybe there are ways that you can help other women get the same results. So that's another avenue in terms of finding your thing.
absolutely. I love it. Yeah, your challenges um, often lead you into your gifts, don't they?
True. Absolutely true. Yes, yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Once we figure out how to solve these things in our own life, then we're able to share about it. Um,
Yeah.
yeah. I think the one thing that I've seen happen a lot, and um, I really am passionate about doing this in a different way. And I get the sense that you are too, is I think this is where a lot of the methods, modalities, teachings, programs, whatever you want to call it, have come from, right? Where somebody has overcome a challenge in their own life. They've
Mm.
really gained success in that, and they've got excited and they've wanted to share it with other people. The one slight thing that I think that we're changing as we move forward with this is that in the past, often that way of doing this would then be shared almost in a way that's like, I did it this way, and so now you need to do it this way in order to have success with it. And the difference that's so powerful is I did it this way, and I'm going to share this with you and give you the tools that I use to help you find out how to do it for you, right?
Yes,
In the
yes,
way
yes.
that is right for you, in the way that is helpful for you. And
Mm.
that's like bringing us back to that term, guide us, right? Because you're not the guru necessarily saying like I did it this way, you do it this way. You're saying, I did it this way, I'm walking in this way. Do you want to come with me? Let's explore together, right?
I
And this
love
is
this. I
different.
love this. Let's go on this journey together. Let me hold your hand. I've been there. I can help you. Let's yeah, yes. Love this, Regina.
So good, so good. I love Beautiful. Well, before we wrap up, I want to just say a quick hi to Robert. I saw you were on here, and I saw Angela was on here earlier. I'm not sure I see somebody still on here. Is it you, Robert? Do you want to share anything about the conversation? Give him a second to see if he wants to pop in. Um, but yeah, this has just been a joy chatting with you, and I love the work you're doing. I'm so grateful that you've come to share your soul wisdom here today with me and have this journey together. So tell everyone how to work with you if they would like to.
Yes. First, thank you so much for inviting me, Regina. I
Absolutely.
really enjoyed our conversation. It was just,
Oh,
and the reason why I know that because the way I feel, I'm just feeling. That's all you need to know. You know what I mean? When you connect it to your body, it just feels right. It feels good. Just like
thank you.
I
Yes,
love
it's
that kind of
mutual.
sensation. Yeah.
I can always
Thank
tell when I've had a good conversation because I get off the podcast and then my cheeks hurt from smiling.
this is funny. I'm just feeling good. I'm just like,
Good, good, good.
So yes, the way you can work with me is I offer one-to-one coaching. So you can work with me for a whole year, so 12 months, where we literally, I'm your midlife guide. We work on all the things. whatever you're going through, whatever you need help with, your relationship, your job, your career. It could be like you're creating new passions, finding your purpose. Whatever you're going through in your midlife, I can help you with that. The best way to connect with me is probably on Instagram.
Okay.
My Insta handle is DJ underscore. Oh, I've got a blank now.
Coach 44, I
Coaching
think.
44. I've got it. I'm like, oh,
I'll put the link in. Don't
thank
worry.
you, Regina. But yeah, DJ underscore coaching 44. Yes. And that's where you can, yeah, please feel free to DM me. I would love. Oh, thank you, Robert. Thank you
Thank
so
you,
much for
Robert.
watching
Thank you
it.
for
Thank
being here.
you. Yeah, so yeah, please feel free to connect with me. Yeah, I would love to hear from you. And please let us know, let me know and let Regina know what resonated with you in our conversation.
Definitely.
Yes, we'd love to hear from you guys.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much. I know it's late where you are, so I appreciate you coming on and having this conversation this evening. And I know this is not the last time we will chat for sure.
Nope.
So thank you so much. Thank you to everyone who was here live. And if you're watching in the future, it's always the right space and place for you to be engaging. So we will see you again soon on another Soul Wisdom Exchange. Thank you for being here.
Bye. Bye,
Bye.
everyone.